Hi, everybody. This is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Public Library, and we're going to make a necklace today. We are coming into very warm weather. Actually, our weather's been weird. We had 80s in April, and now we have 60s and low 70s in June. I don't get it. It's like Benjamin Button weather or something like that, if that makes any sense. Anyway, but we are coming into some warmer weather, and people will be going to the beach, schools getting out, letting out. And so I thought we'd do something really cute with some really pretty shells that I have. They're really iridescent, um, uh, not, they're kind of unusual shapes, not all one shape. They're very natural. And so I thought we would make a really pretty necklace that you could just put on and wear with anything. I'm calling it Making Waves because we're going to make some coiled wavy links, and we're going to make some coil wrapped beads. And all you need for that, very little. You need your beads, and you can use any beads. I'm using these mother of pearl beads just because I want to. So any beads that you want, these are probably about 10 to 12 inches, and they vary in size. Again, they're not one size. So you can use any beads that you want with this, and just use as many as you need to get the length, excuse me, necklace that you want. So what you'll need are beads and 22 gauge wire. That's it. You can also use 20 gauge wire if you choose, but I'm using 22. It gives it a nice flowy look. And so that's what we're doing. Two things, beads and wire. That's it. Of course, you do need your tools. So you're going to need round nose pliers. The barrels are round all the way around. They start larger at the hilt of the pliers and get gradually smaller near the tip. And then you have your square pliers or your square nose pliers. Sometimes they're called chain nose pliers. They're slightly rounded on the outside and have a flat surface on the inside. And if you buy these in the store, make sure that they don't have those little grips or ridges on the inside, because that will kind of mar your wire. It'll chew it up, and you don't want that. Last but not least, you need a pair of cutters. And these are just standard wire cutters to cut the wire that we're going to be using today. And you'll need some jump rings. I forgot that little tidbit. You're going to need some jump rings for this. You also need a ruler. You need a ruler to measure everything out. That's it. That's all we need. So let's go ahead and get down here to the camera and get rolling on this. Okay, the first thing that you need to do is cut a 10-inch piece of your 22 gauge wire, 10 inches. Got a little less than 10 inches, but that's fine. It will work. It's just a fraction off. 10 inches of your 22 gauge wire, and you're going to measure 2.5 inches from one end. Is 2.5 inches. And you're going to put a bend in the wire right at the 2.5 inch mark. And then grab your round nose pliers, slide the long tail of wire in between the prongs, or the arms of your, I call them something different every time. Yeah, arms, legs, whatever. But right in between the pliers, the long tail of wire. You want that under there. These my ones that aren't any good. I have one of these pairs of pliers that I got that doesn't have. You see, no, these are the bad ones. These are the good ones. Okay, slide the long tail of wire right about a quarter of the way down your pliers. I don't need a very large lead. So a quarter to a third of the way. I'm going to get a third of the way down my pliers. And I'm going to bring this long tail over the top of my wire and then down the side so that it's parallel with the short tail. And once I get there, I'm going to hold on to my wire. I don't want it to move from this spot. I'm going to open my pliers up and reposition them out of the way so that I can bring this long tail under the rest of the way. Just like that. I don't want to bring this over both barrels. I want it to just go around the one and then stop when it's laying flat, and I have a nice little loop right there. There we go. So then I'm going to grab my square pliers, and I have this nice long wire going out to the side and the short one's going down, and I'm going to wrap this long tail around the short one. And I'm going to keep wrapping it until I have just an inch of bare wire left. So I'm just going to start wrapping that in a nice coil right around that tail. I don't know why I always get a frog in my throat when I'm doing this. Maybe I'm not speaking from my diaphragm or something. Anyway, wrap that around this short stem. I want my wraps to be nice and close together. So just take your time and do this. And I want them to go straight across. I don't want it off at an angle. And I also find that if I hold my loop back here near the back, you have a better grip the further back, the closer you get to the hill than you do at the tip. The tip, it'll wiggle around because it doesn't have as much grip up there. So just go right back here. And the other thing is try not to wrap it from way out here. It's hard to control it if you do. Stay a little bit closer to your wire. And as you're doing that, just make sure that the wires are wrapping close to each other, but not on top of each other. Lastly, I think, when you're doing this, I see people doing it like this, and that's fine. You're wrapping it really close. But if you do that, make sure you're not twisting this wire around, because if you're twisting this wire and this is staying still, what you're going to do is snap that wire off. It's sort of like an apple core. You know how you wind it around at the top of the apple until it snaps off? That's the same thing that'll happen if you twist this wire while you're wrapping it. So be careful of that. I'm just putting up a lot of chatter here because this takes a minute, and I know that you're going to get bored watching me wrap this wire around, coil this wire around the short stem. So I'm just talking, just chatting, just giving you something to listen to while you watch the equivalent of watching paint dry. Okay. And if for some reason you see where it's kind of bunching up on one of the others, just kind of go in and correct it as soon as you can. Yeah, there we go. It's easier to correct it right away than it is to try to go back and correct it later. So you don't want to have to uncoil. You don't want to coil and uncoil too many times because, again, that can also cause your wire to snap. Okay, so I'm going to just keep on wrapping until I just have 1 inch of wire left. And I might, you see how this works. I might do the rest of this off camera so you don't have to sit here and experience the equivalent of watching paint dry. So that's boring. Okay, I'm almost finished. I might keep going. I might take it off camera. No. Oh, and the other thing is, once it gets shorter, when this wire gets shorter, it's a lot easier to manipulate because, well, it's shorter. That's just self-explanatory. Okay, keep wrapping and wrapping. And what I want to end up with is about an inch or a little over an inch of wrapped wire when I'm finished. You can see where that's trying to bunch up on the other wires. Push that over, get over there where you're supposed to be. And I've got maybe 10 more wraps to go. 1, 2, 3, wrong, only 7, 4, get over there, get over, yeah, 5, 6, 7, do I have one more? I can see that I have well over an inch left, so I'm good. 8. Now this is getting really short, so I'm going to grab my other pair of pliers to bring that around. At this point, I can just cut that little tip off. You just want to wrap it until you can't wrap anymore. Okay, snip that off with my cutters. There we go. And then push that little tip down right there against the rest of the wires so that it won't snag on anything. Get down there, right against the other wires. There. And let's see what we have. I have, a little over an inch left, and I have an inch and an eighth of coiled wire. Perfect, because when I do the other side, I'll end up with about an inch and a quarter. So what I'm going to do is measure about a quarter of an inch, maybe a little less, from the wrapped wire. I'm going to put a bend in my wire, like so. And then I'm going to grab my round nose pliers, slide the wire down about a third of the way, just like I did on this side. Oops, and I want those going in the same direction. So here we go. It's going left and right. That should be going left and right. Okay, slide that a third of the way down my pliers so that both of my loops are the same size. Bring that tail over the top of my pliers and down the side like so. Then reposition my pliers and bring that tail the rest of the way under my pliers until I have a loop like that. Here we go, it corrected itself. So I have a nice little loop. There we go. Straighten that out. And now I'm going to wrap this down to meet the rest of the wire. What's this doing? Oh, I've got it on auto. I don't like the auto. It's weird. And it goes in and out, in and out. So I'm going to wrap this the rest of the way around. The first thing I'm going to do is turn this around because I want you to be facing the same direction that I am in right now. I don't think you are. Yeah. Okay. Hold on just a second. Let me turn this around. There. Now you see what I see. Ooh, I see blurriness. See if I can get rid of that blurriness. Okay. I hope that's better. All right. So now I'm going to grab my square pliers again. Position that correctly. And I'm going to wrap this tail down the unwrapped stem, the bare stem, the bare wire, until this wire meets the other wrapped wire. Let's wrap that around, down the bare wire until the wires meet and the bare wires all filled in. Tiny little tail there. Use my round pliers to get that around there. Go. And then just push the end down until it disappears in between the rest of the wire. You may have to cut some of it off, which is fine too. Just wrap until you completely fill in the bare wire, and then push the rest of it down, the tip of it down in between the other wires so that you cannot feel it. There we go. Okay, and now my little loop is leaning over to the side. So I'm going to go in with my pliers and just roll it back this way until it's straight. Let's check this one out a little bit. Roll it back until it's straight up and down. And so there's my little coil. And now we need to make it into waves. And the way you do that is very simple. You just kind of put a curve in it in one direction from one end. And this is very organic. It depends on how you want it to look, how much curving you want to do, how many curves you want to do. You can't do too many because this is only about 1.25 inches long. So just curve it until it looks the way you want. Isn't that cute? And then I turn my little loop straight up and out to the side so I can link it on something else. There we go. So there's my little wave, my little wavy link. Isn't that adorable? All right, so let's put that to the side and let's move on to our pretty beads. Those neat. Ooh, ah. Okay, so in order to wrap this bead, the first thing I need to do is go ahead and put it on a stem and wrap it. So for that, I will need 5 inches for what I call the stem. And it just goes right in here. Well, first I'm gonna 1 inch or so from the end. I'm gonna bend my wire back like so. Slide my wire down about 1/3 of the way down my pliers so I have a loop that's the same size as the one on my wave. Bring that short tail over the top and down the side until it's parallel with the long wire. Hold on to both wires, reposition my pliers, and bring that tail under my pliers until I have a loop, just like so. I'm going to wrap that closed. Then you only need a couple of wraps. It doesn't need to be too many, but I give myself about 1.5 wraps on this side because you're going to also be wrapping back from the other side as well. So on this side, I'm going to give myself 1, and a half wraps. Bring that around. And cut that tip off. And get rid of that little piece. And push my wire down until it's resting right against the other wrapped wire. Okay. Now I want to put my bead on. A little iridescent shell. There we go. And now I'm going to give myself just a little bit of space up here, about 1/8 of an inch of space from the bead. I'm going to put a bend in my wire, like so. Grab my round nose pliers, slide my wire down about that same spot, 1/3 of the way down my pliers. Bring the wire over the top and down the side of my bead until I can't go any further because the bead's in the way. Then I'm going to reposition my pliers so that they're out of my way and work that wire in between the bead and the pliers, like so. And I'm looking at this, looks a little bit bigger than the other loop, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to tug that until it looks the same size as the other one. And now I'm going to grab my square pliers and wrap that around. 1, 2, I did 1.5 on the other side. I'm going to do 2.5 on this side. Here we go. And now I know you're going, well, what are we going to do with that long piece of wire that you've got there? Well, I will show you in just a minute. So we're going to put this to the side for now, and we're going to take another piece of 22 gauge wire, and we're going to coil this and slide the coil over that arm there. So I've got another little, just take another small piece of wire. It only needs to be a couple of inches. You just need something to wrap around. Now you could wrap it around, you could wrap it directly around this, but I find I like the look of it if I have a separate coil that I slide on. I just think it looks better. So I'm going to give myself about 1.5 inches of wire to hold on to, of this wire to hold on to, in addition to what I'm wrapping around, just so I have some leverage here. I just need something to hold while I'm wrapping. So then I'm going to wrap that long stem, my little 6 inches of wire, around the little 2 or 3 inches of wire that you have here. This is just my stem that I'm wrapping around. And really, it only takes a small piece of wire. You don't want it to be too long, otherwise it's going to be ungainly and in the way. And then I'm just going to coil. It's going to wrap it around, sort of like I did with this guy, except that it's separate. Okay, just wrap that around till you have a nice little coil. And this wire is shorter, so it's a lot easier to manipulate. It's a lot easier when you don't have a really long thing of wire. That needs to be further over, closer to the previous wire, nice and close. There we go. Oh, also, you might be tempted to try to start wrapping way back here, but it's easier if you have it near here because then you don't have to worry about hitting that tip every time you try to wrap the wire around. Just a little tidbit about. Okay, keep wrapping and wrapping. Are you getting bored watching me wrap wire around other wires yet? I hope not. Really doesn't take very long. It's just one of those things that you have to go through in order to get the effect that you want. Okay. Yeah, is that enough? Enough for maybe one more little wrap. These little tips are a challenge. I need to get them around the wire. And once you get to this point, you can really just cut it off. I hate wasting. Anybody who's ever heard me complain about wasting wire, I mean, it's inevitable. You are going to lose some wire. I don't call it waste. I think I call it collateral damage. Some of it's gotta go. It's just all there is to it. But if I can lose as little as possible, I am very happy. Get down there. I did it. Okay. And now what you want is about 3/4 to an inch. And I have almost an inch. It just depends on I'll show you, how big a wrap or how deep or long a wrap you want. This is what we're going for right here. And you can see that this one is a lot further than this one. It just depends on the look that you want. So you want to give yourself enough basically to wrap around your bead. And I know just from experience that it doesn't take more than an inch of wire to wrap around this little guy. I mean, you can put it up against it and see that this is really all I need. So I can cut this off if I want, or I can keep wrapping because again, waste. Let's push that. And there we go. I'm going to keep wrapping, or do I want to stop? Okay, there we go. Okay, that's enough of that. With that, I should have a good inch. Oh yeah, well, yeah, I got a little over 7/8. If I wrapped that one around, I would have it. But I think I'm going to stop right here, snip that off, rid of that little tip, push this little end down against the other wires as close as I can get. The other wrapped wire. And I'm going to take this off of here. There we go. And this is going to slide right on the other wire. Boom. Just like that. And now we're going to bring it around. Where'd you go? Come back. We're going to bring it around, just wrap it around to the other side. Now you see why I said I wanted only 1.5 wraps here and 2.5 wraps here, because I'm going to go on this side and wrap again. So that'll bring me up to the 2.5 wraps. And so I want to curve this around my little shell. Like so. Get around there. There, just like that. And now I'm going to wrap the bare wire around this other side. And it is a little fidgety. have a lot of things to hold on to. Get it on there. And I'm going to wrap it down here close to the bead. Right there in between where the wraps are and the bead is. Okay, so once you get the first wrap around, you're good. And then you can decide how many more times you want to wrap it. I think that looks good. Yes. Cut that little tail off. And push down that tip in between the other wraps. Get down there. If I can feel it with my finger, I keep pushing until I can not feel it with my finger. So when we get it as close as I can, there we go. So there's my little wrapped bead. Adjust it so these are sticking out on the side, just like that. And these are going to link together. How, you ask? With a jump ring, of course. A jump ring. So I'm going to find the opening in my little jump ring. And I'm going to, oh, that's my little alarm saying, you only have a few minutes left. Get moving. Okay, so I'm going to find the opening of my jump ring and put one plier on one side. And I'm going to take my other pliers and I'm going to twist it over. Now, notice how I do it. I have one that's pointing in towards the loop, and then I have one that's long ways on the loop. I find that makes it easier for me. I see people doing it this way, and I think that's a little difficult. So this is the way I do it. One going long ways, one pointing in, sort of like a small T, and twist. Twist it open just like that. There we go. Then I'm going to grab my squiggle, my little wave. I'm going to put it on my jump ring, and I'm going to put my bead on the jump ring, just like that. And then I'm going to close my loop. Several ways you can do this. You just want to twist it closed. But I rest. You can either use two pliers to do it, or you can rest one half of it against your finger and then twist it. And then squeeze it the rest of the way. There we go. And then just check and make sure that there's no opening in between, and there's no opening, no split, no opening between the split, I guess I should say. Okay, and there's my little link, and now I need to link that to the rest of my necklace, my Nicholas. Okay. So let's put that on. And I just alternated them. And it just depends on how you want it. You can make them all go in one direction, or you can alternate, which is what I did because I thought it would be fun. See if I can get it to lay right. Okay, there we go. I just thought that would be interesting. Or you can have them go all in one direction. It's entirely up to you how you lay them out. There we go. Whoop, 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 whoop. Going with the wave pattern, just back and forth. Okay, so then I'm going to link this to the rest of my necklace. Grab another jump ring. This one's already open, but again, you grab it with one plier, long ways with the other plier, twist until it's open. And then you grab your little wave link, attach the bead link, and twist it closed. Like so. And would you look at that? There's my necklace. It's so very pretty. Nice. So now all we need is a clasp. And this is probably about, it's got to be at least 18 inches, but I think this is more like 20. Let's see. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21. Ooh, this is 22 inches. A little longer than I intended, but I'll take it. So it really depends on how much you coil, how much you twist and wave your little wavelengths. That will determine how long your necklace is going to be. If you make them not quite as wavy, it'll be longer. If you make them really tight together, it will be shorter. It just depends on what you want. Yeah, I've got almost 22 inches. All right, so let's go ahead and make a hook, because what I'm going to do is hook that directly into one of these little wavelengths. Or, or if you wanted to, you can just use, I started to use a lobster clasp, but if you want to go buy a lobster clasp and use that, that's entirely up to you. I just like to show you how to make these hooks because I like to. Okay, so anyway, so what we're going to do is about an inch from the end. I'm gonna, well, about about an inch from the end. I'm gonna put a little bend in my wire and take it all the way down until it is side by side with the long wire. Short wire and long wire should be running parallel. Then I'm going to squeeze the rounded part together until they are as close together as I can get them without overlapping. And if you can't do it with your fingers, use your pliers to close it up the rest of the way. You just don't want them to overlap. You don't want that to happen if you can avoid twisting that. Here we go. As close together as you can get. Yeah. All right. Then I'm going to go down here to the long stem that's protruding from the double stem that I've got here. And I'm going to put a bend in my wire right there, just at the end of the short wire, just like that. Then I'm going to grab my round pliers, slide it under that tail of wire, about a third of the way down my pliers so that my loops are consistent with the other loops. Bring that over the top, oops, and down the side, like so. So this is what I have. And then I'm going to grab my, oh, you know what, I'm going to complete that loop. Go ahead and bring that the rest of the way around until I have a loop. There we go. And now I'm going to wrap this around this stem here. I don't want that to be so close to the round part. So I'm going to cut just the tiniest little bit off. I want it right up there just below my loop. Now I'm going to wrap this around both of these wires. That is probably the most challenging part of making my little hook. But you can do it. I have every faith in you. Let's wrap that around. Till you capture that loose wire in there. There we go. And wrap it down both wires. Just give it a coil, just like you did with the rest of your necklace. Lots of coiling going on today. Okay. And make it so that it's too short for me to do with my fingers. I'll pick up my other pliers and continue. There we go. Nice. Push that little tip down, a little end. A little tighter there. There. I don't want to feel it. You're going to feel it a little bit because it's the end of a wire. It's inevitable. All right. So now what I need to do is make my hook. Make sure these are side by side and not overlapping. So I'm going to go right down here, just above where the wraps are, and I'm going to put a little bit of a bend in my wire, just like that. So that's what I have. Then I'm going to go down here to the tip, right at the tip, and I'm going to bend that in the same direction. I bent that way. I'm going to bend this in the same direction, just a little bit. So now this is what I have. Boom. So then I'm going to grab, it depends on what you want to use. You can use your pliers. You can use a small ink pen. It depends on what you would like, how big you want your hook to be. I'm going to just slide this back to the back of my pliers. And right here in the middle of the two wires, I'm just going to bring them together. I'm going to bring the long part together with the coil down here, just until it touches. And there's my hook. Isn't that awesome? Every time I'm in a class and we do that, people look at it and go, oh, yes, you did. Awesome. Okay. So now all I need to do is attach it to my necklace. How do we do that? Jump ring. Okay. Slide my, oops, back here. Slide my little wave link on and slide my little hook link on. Close everything up. Make sure it's nice and closed. I don't want any gaps in there. If I can get my fingernail in, it's not closed enough. Nice and snug. And there we have it, everybody. Nice little necklace. Isn't that adorable? Hard to get the whole thing in. It's so long. Okay, I'm going to put it on a display so that you can see what it looks like. Be right back. Okay, there it is. There's our necklace. Ooh, I could put that on. That looks great. That looks great. I'm going to put it on when I finish here. But here's our necklace. I hope you like this. It's very beachy looking. And those of you who get kits, I have all different colors of these shells. This mother of pearl. I think I've got blue and green, and I think I've got some pretty silvery gray. I've got some topaz, some more pink, this kind of salmon pink color. So it's going to be a lot of fun. This is fun to make. It's easy to make. You do the same thing over and over until you have the length necklace that you want. It doesn't have to be this long if you don't want it to be. So it's entirely up to you. It's one of those things that you can kind of wear with whatever you want. And it's not heavy at all, but it's very pretty, very pretty. At least I think it's very pretty. So that is our piece for today. Lay down. That is our little piece for today, our necklace for today. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know one way or the other. You can get in touch with me at jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That's JEWELRYGIN20@gmail.com. You can leave me comments and pictures on the library Facebook page, and I love to see pictures on the library Facebook page, so please leave them. That's at facebook.com/DeKalb Library. You can also leave comments on the YouTube page, which is youtube.com/DeKalb County Public Library. It has to be the whole thing because there's another DeKalb library out there and it will go to the wrong one. So the YouTube page is youtube.com/DeKalb County Public Library. That's spelled DEKALB County Public Library. Facebook is just facebook.com/DeKalb Library. Okay, so let me know what you thought one way or the other. If you have some criticism, I want to hear those too, because I want to know what works and what doesn't work. And I also love to hear your ideas of what you would like to see in the future in a tutorial. I would love to get your input on that. Love, love, love it. So until next time, I won't talk your ear off anymore. Until next time, I hope you have a great week, have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.